Hey, this is Matt once again. What about you in the videos? Another paid request, this time for DarkMetalSpider. They do so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, if they're reasonable, of course, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal, which is probably the best choice, or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And he wanted me to do something a bit different. I didn't grow up with the Twilight Zone as much as other people. I knew of the movie, which I watched back in the day and was a mixed bag. Some I liked, some I didn't. The last one, John Lithgow, I thought was the best segment. The one with John Landis was sadly tragic and easily the worst one. But I didn't watch much of either show. I know there was a newer one that came out. Actually, a few others. Wasn't there one that Forrest Whitaker hosted? Sometime in the 2000s? And then there's this newer one with Jordan Peele, which I think was already canceled. So it didn't last long. But you had the original from the 50s and such with Rod Serling hosting each segment. Then you had the one in the 80s where you had people like Bruce Willis was in episodes. Wes Craven directed some, including the episode I'm about ready to talk about. But DarkMetalSpider wanted me to compare two episodes because they were very similar in terms of the kind of the premise. The original Twilight Zone had a kind of stopwatch. The 80s one had a little peace and quiet, because they're both episodes dealing with some type of device that freezes time. You can unfreeze it, freeze it, unfreeze it, freeze it. Clock stoppers, so to speak. And to compare the two, and which I like more. So, in order to do that, the gist of the 50s one, a kind of stopwatch, you have this guy named McNulty, known as the biggest bore on earth, a dull big mouth, as Rod Serling himself says, who loves to talk, loves talking people's ears off, gets fired from his job, talks everyone's ears off in the bar, this and that. At one point, gets a stopwatch and realizes when he stops it, it freezes. When he stops again, it unfreezes. And this is a guy that wants to be known. He wants to be known. He wants to be noticed. That's why he always gets in conversations with people and trying to find a way to be known. Meanwhile, the 80s one, A Little Peace and Quiet, stars Melinda Dillon. And I'm like, I recognize this actress. She's the mom in Harry and the Hendersons, which is a film I grew up with. Love Harry and the Hendersons with John Lithgow. Speaking of Twilight Zone, funny enough. Where John Lithgow and Melinda Dillon and the family, they accidentally hit Bigfoot, they bring him home, and then it's a heartfelt comedy. Wonderful effects by Rick Baker. Love Harry and the Hendersons. But Melinda Dillon was also in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, playing another mother of the little kid that's been taken in, and thankfully she gets her kid back at the end. She stars in that episode, and that episode in the 80s is actually directed by Wes Craven. May he rest in peace. Now, I would say of the two, I thought the 80s one was easily the better one, because I thought, number one, it had the more likable lead character. McNulty in the 50s one, he is a bore, as in he is a loudmouth. He is a guy that is easy to see why people are annoyed with him, why people are irritated with him, because he won't shut up, he won't be quiet, and he uses the device for his own means, like giving back to some of the people that he got fired from at the job. Although the people at the job were dickheads too, so I don't really feel bad about that. And spoiler alert, pretty much at the end of it, he decides to rob a bank, taking the money, he drops the watch, it's broken, now everybody's frozen. And he even goes, oh, forget the money, just please someone talk to me, someone talk to me. So the guy that wanted attention now will never get attention, because the entire world forever will be frozen in time. And that's the episode. It was okay. Acting was decent. The stopwatch, that was always the idea that, it's not new, I mean, many others had it. before and after. I mean, there's been films. What was it? I mentioned Clock Stoppers, which was a family. Well, I don't know if family film, but it was a teen film. I think Michael Biehn was in it as the villain. Forever. I remember the trailer had the song, "Will last forever, forever, forever." There's always the idea that a lot of us had, an ability to freeze time, just to be able to get all your stuff done, get caught up with stuff, because we never have time. Time is the one thing we never have enough of, and we can't get back. So there is that fantasy of wanting to freeze time and just be able to do what we want, and what we're catch up on stuff. I would love that power, to freeze time and catch up on all the stuff I want to watch, all the games I want to play, all the stuff I want to... We all want that power. So it's something that... It's a fantasy that we all have, and in a little bit you live through. But the thing is, with the 80s woman, Melinda Dillon, she's much more of a... not just likable character. She is a likable character, but also relatable. You understand her plight more. She's a mom whose husband doesn't know what he's doing, is always asking for her help, pretty much yelling for her help. Her kids are total terrors, not shutting up. You tell her just getting stressed and more stressed out. One day she finds this amulet in the backyard, wears it, and if she says shut up, everything freezes. If she says start talking, it unfreezes. So she'll freeze in order to relax. And it sets up nicely her plight where just the noise everywhere, everyone, the four kids, the husband, the washing machine's rocking, like it's having sex with itself. She's trying to cook and someone had a snake and accidentally threw the snake on the damn fryer. Like, they make it, like, Wes Craven made it prevalent to, okay, you get why she's in this frame of mind. And so when she freezes time, it's understandable. Just to enjoy a quiet meal. Just to enjoy going out and getting groceries. Someone's being a dickhead stealing the cereal she needs. So she says, shut up, takes the cereal, gives the lady another cereal, and even pays for it. I just not to feel too guilty. But she said, how about $50? So again, the 80s one I would say is better because, like I said, Melinda Dillon is much more of a likable, relatable, easy to root for character. And the neighbor's rooster agrees with that. Gave his approval over McNulty in the original. And also, it definitely has the better ending. The much more haunting, thought-provoking, interesting ending. Now, I mentioned the ending in the original. He screwed up, trying to rob a bank. Now everyone's frozen. I guess he didn't try to find a way to fix the watch himself. But the 80s one is definitely much more of a impactful ending. Spoiler on that. A little peace and quiet. Apparently Rooster wants me to spoil it, so I will. No, shut up. The ending to it is, you get hints that this, of course, is during the Cold War, Soviets and America, and on the news it breaks out that they finally did it. The Soviet missile has been launched and is going to reach the U.S. in minutes. And I thought that Wes Craven did it, and the actors did a great job with the emotion. The dad is ready to break down and cry and is holding their daughter, and Melinda's freaking out and she says shut up. Her husband and daughter are frozen, walks outside, walks through the crowds, everyone's scared, stares up, and right in the distance, like right there, is a missile, ready to, literally probably in probably a matter of seconds. Like, imagine if you walk outside and you look at maybe the second or third story of a building. That's about how far it is to the surface. And now she kind of stares at it, walks off camera, and it ends. As the camera pushes to an up close, I guess to tell the audience more like this is a nuclear missile. Very much of a bummer of an ending, but technically everyone's alive, but they're frozen in time. And it does make you think afterward, what would you do? Either A, you gotta keep everyone frozen in time, or B, say something and nuclear war happens and end of the world. So what do? You keep people frozen in time? Like, what would you do? Like, that's one of the biggest positives that this episode does compared to the original is it gives you a contemplation of what would you do in that situation? What would you do after the events? What would you do if you're Melinda Dillon's point of view? What would you do? Now, obviously, you go, well, yeah. I guess the answer would be easy. Keep them frozen. But you keep them frozen, you're by yourself for the rest of your life. And even when you die, do you still keep them frozen? And when someone's frozen, are they still alive? Are they still not alive? If they die, would they be able to move on? Or can they not move on and they're frozen and trapped? Like, there's a lot of implications you could put into. That's why I kind of wish there was a sequel to this. A sequel to this episode. Because there's a lot of dialogue, contemplation. Do you believe in God? If you do believe in God and there's something afterward, would this be a release? If not, was like, hey, at least they're kept alive and frozen. How do you survive by yourself in a world where everything's been frozen? Do you try to do some crazy idea, like try to get everybody out, but would that even work? How could you even do that? There's no way to stop the missile. So yeah, what do you do? And I thought that was a really nice, impactful ending. That really made you go, ooh, shit. Like, give you an emotional crunch that, to me, the original 50s one didn't have. I mean, it's more like, oh, man, that idiot, that moron. He dropped the damn watch. He broke the watch. That moron. Like, that was kind of a reaction I had with the original. Here is much more of a haunting, like I said, contemplative demeanor. That, and you feel bad because Melinda Dillon, you know, it's not like the characters deserve their fate or she really did anything that bad or wrong. In fact, she's keeping everyone alive by doing this, but what can you do and what do you do next? It's a very effective episode. I thought Melinda Dillon did a great job. Part of me wishes this was a bit longer. Part of me wishes this was like that happened maybe halfway through and then see a little bit more. But I guess it's not a bad thing to want a bit more. I didn't mind the narration, because sometimes, like, Rod Serling narrated back to the day. I forget who the narration was in this. The voice does sound familiar. It's a voice that I've heard a lot of movie trailers back to the day. I don't think it's Don LaFontaine. I don't think. Might be another guy. But it's definitely a guy I've heard do a lot of voiceovers and trailers before. It's not Percy Rodriguez who voiced the Jaws trailer and other trailers. It's not him. I don't know. Is Don LaFontaine? Maybe it is. I don't realize. I don't know. But anyway. I mean, nothing could top Rod Serling's narration. He just had the right voice for that. But I thought the voice narration in this was still fairly decent. Like I said, Melinda Dillon did a great job, and Her husband was a loudmouth. Part of me wonders why he was such a damn loudmouth. And his kids and their kids were such terrors. I just part of me wanted to, because the episodes are so short though. Part of me wanted to see her utilize the freezing power a little bit more, like maybe a few other situations in life that you could utilize this. And it's one of those things that I think what Wes was going for was, and also with the script, it's a bit of fun. She could relax, enjoy her dinner. It's a bit of fun with the grocery shopping, a bit of whimsical, and then boom, it takes a very dark, serious turn, and like I said, to me, a bit of a haunting ending. And that was the fear of the time. Nuclear war between U.S. and Soviets. So, definitely very prevalent. Definitely much more so than the 50s one. The 50s one, it was what it was. It was okay, but Little Peace and Quiet was definitely... like I said, I just wish there was more to it, but maybe that's a positive. It makes me want to see more. Like, what happened after? And that's the part of the point of it. So with that said, again, DarkMetalSpider, I definitely say A Little Peace and Quiet, the 80s one is immensely better. And with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later.